Hi, Faisal. We're recording.
Hi, Shelley.
We have such rich discussions behind the scenes, and I want to get this on video early on.
Yes.
So part of what we were talking about is the different ways of learning and knowledge and embodiment and soul, and such an incredibly interesting body of work that you have been teaching all these years. And so whatever you're up for sharing this evening would be great to talk about.
Yes, yes. We made a video before about how the different corners of the Enneagram learn, you know, this way, one learn that way. And there may be more also addition, elaboration, enriching about the learning and maturation. You know, it's not just about learning, but how to reach maturity and enriching those capacities that we are gifted with.
Yes.
And different parts of who we are experience reality and learn about reality different from the other parts, you know. And sometimes we try to think that this is the way that all those parts should learn, you know. And of course, it leads to limitations, and it leads to difficulties in life, and it leads to many people learn it on one level, but they don't understand it on another level. They haven't matured in it on another level. So I will just touch on those, you know, to inspire. Most of our videos that I am, you know, trying to share, and you have been really facilitating a lot to make it clear, is bulk of knowledge is like 24 carats of gold, you know, that need to be melted and made into rings and necklaces and all of those things. I'm just trying to get, you know, the pulp of it, and the elaboration. Hopefully later on we will elaborate on the intricacies of each aspect and into the issues related to each aspect and to each dimension and the developmental stages. This one, we just want to document something more, the core of things. So let's say that how does the mind learn and matures? It learns and matures through cultivation of knowledge. The more we learn, the more we educate, the more our mind blossoms and matures and become more spacious, more multifaceted, you know. And knowledge can be also of gradations. There are knowledges that are just ordinary knowledge, but there are knowledges that can be upgraded, you know. It'll become more like scientific, it'll become almost like so precise, like mathematics. And this precision is taking the mind from the dull, ordinary state of nonsense, like hi, howdy, how you doing, where you go, to more like the price of meat, to more of the what's happening, you know, around, to, you know, little bit by little, to more spaciousness and consciousness, to more seeing systems and seeing, you know, patterns that are unfolding, to intricacies of dimensions of knowledges, you know, whether in psychology, spirituality, physics, all of those things. This mind upgrades and learns and reaches from more dull thinking to more intelligent, creative thinking, to much more precise thinking and precise and spacious thinking. It reaches what we call diamondness. So this mind gets upgraded till it becomes like a diamond. And the diamond has the capacity of precision, of cohesiveness, of differentiation, of integration. It becomes very evolved aspect of mind. Yeah? This mind, if we keep cultivating it even further, you reach the true nature of mind. And in reaching the true nature of mind, you go beyond the conceptual domain and the upgrading of the conceptual domain to the true nature of mind. And the true nature of mind is, of course, the absolute or the enlightened nature. It's a field of pliability. You can make from it concept, images, beliefs, realities, dimensions, and that's a meta knowledge. That's a very high knowledge, and that's very high realization, and how to utilize that mind in one way, transcending the relative mind, so you become free from it and its confusion, and or upgrading this mind to a higher octave, and instead of becoming prejudiced mind, regressed mind, it becomes illuminated mind, it becomes spacious mind, open to so many influxes, inputs, and evolution. This is maturation of mind. Mind gets more and more mature. But regardless of how much knowledge we can learn, the soul, the human soul, or what I call the point of light within, doesn't necessarily learn through knowledge. This soul is like children. Children don't learn only through knowing about functionality and things about those things, but usually the child learns by becoming what it wants to be, what it wants to learn about, That's why children imitate, they become their mothers like, they become their father like, or grandfather, or teacher, or even John Wayne, or John Wayne in the old time, now I don't know who nowadays. We take a modality and we emulate it. And this being of light try to become it, And by becoming it, you not only know how it is, you also know its true nature, which is the feeling of what's it about. Like if I want to learn about, for example, compassion, for example, I can merge and unite with somebody like the Dalai Lama. This is how my soul will learn about compassion. I become a mini Dalai Lama.
How?
Yeah, I try to learn to listen to what he says. I try to feel him. I try to even imagine me becoming a mini Dalai Lama. Of going over that super ego attack, like who am I to think I am Dalai Lama and I all of that. Why don't I become Dalai Lama? And why don't I become Christ? And why don't I become, Buddha? That's how my soul learns. It learns through becoming the quality of that person. By becoming like that person, I learn about love. I learn about compassion. I want to learn about love. I merge with the Christ. Then I am the Christ of my being. My soul attains to Christhood. Then I've learned from that archetype, the Christ archetype, or the Avalokiteshvara archetype, or the Buddha archetype. I learned from them by becoming like them. Through feeling, through listening, through becoming, through challenging the psychological issues. The soul knows how to become by feeling. It really feels, not emotionally, but feeling of being that state. So
Faisal, with some of the Dakini practices where you're holding it in your heart as part of the meditation, is that one of the ways?
Yes, that's the one. The Guru Yoga, the whole teaching about you worship the Guru, you love the Guru, you become the Guru, through that your point is maturing, and as that Guru point of light reach this level of maturity, you are becoming it more and more. You become Guru like that. Then the soul reaches that knowledge of becoming what the quality is, and that also brings the mind knowledge, and it brings body knowledge, and it brings essential knowledge. But the point of light learns by becoming, and some of that becomes challenging. Like somebody guru like Christ, or expected to be Christ like, they're deep inside in their ego, longing to be Christ like, or longing to be, I don't know, Jehovah like, or whoever it is. Then if this is not seen objectively, that the soul is longing to be Christ-like, it becomes Christ complex. Then it goes it goes into distortion. It becomes, I'm
grandiosity.
grandiosity, office, narcissism. I'm going to be the Christ for my mother. You know, in fact, one of the worst things that in two cultures that I know, maybe three, the three lineages of the prophets. You know, the Christians are all trapped in being Mary or Christ. You know, and the Jews are all trapped in the Messiah to come. Every young kid is, you know, in the unconscious, in the collective unconscious with the Jew, he is to be the second coming, and not the first coming, the Messiah.
Right.
And then the mother, she's going to be the glorious one. And in Islam, you're going to be the Mahdi, or it is all over, you know, this longing and this distortion that, you know, like if every child is expected to be the Imam or expected to be the Christ, you can imagine the anguish inside that I cannot be that, but I long to be that, you know. So there are complexes in the Jewish community, in the Christian community, in the Islamic community around the point wanting to be the Imam. So why don't I be the Imam? Let me feel the Imam. Then, okay, I integrated the Imam. I can be the Messiah. I integrate the Messiah. I can be Ablakat Shwara. My point lays by becoming like them. I become like John Wayne. I become like, I don't know, whoever, right? So the soul, by imitating, emulating, becoming, it lays that nature. You know, there is a book called Entry into the Realm of Reality. Entry into the Realm of Reality, and a small one. Part of that, it's a big book. Part of it's called The Guide, and the guide is about somebody like Siddhartha, a young seeker. And he goes to learn about, I think, the different attributes of being, the virtues. So he goes on a pilgrimage, meeting different yogis. You know, so this yogi will teach him benevolence, and benevolence comes through the transmission, not just through the knowledge about it. You know, he sits with him, he transforms him. His point grows and matures and takes on the substance of this quality, and then the understanding. And then he goes to another yogi and tell him about spaciousness. And so each one is there, I think 54 of them, exquisite knowledge about, you know, different embodiment, that every guru is not just embodying enlightenment. The enlightenment is the basic ground, but every guru is a unique soul. And this unique soul embodies certain emanation of the divine, the great being. You know, Dalai Lama maybe is compassion, bless you, you know. So those high beings, they are moored in the absolute, in the enlightened field, but they are also carrying their soul station, love or wisdom or power or majesty or whatever it is. So our point of light is like a child, if it's allowed to imitate, emulate, become, fake, try till it learns the quality, then we can integrate the different stations available for the soul to mature in. So the soul become Christ-like and Mary-like and Buddha-like, all in one lifetime. I become capable of integrating this aspect and this, all the facets of being and love get integrated by me becoming it. But if I am intimidated, if I am told not to, and this is a grandiosity, then I am conflicted, or I get grandiose, you know. And
or if your hero is John Wayne or Kanye West or some influencer on Instagram, you're headed in.
We have the second coming, Trump showing up with his gold, you know, and people believe it. He's coming as a preparation or as the Christ. Humanity longs for an idol, long for somebody high that they can follow and can integrate and can become like. This is the nature of this point of light. It's a soul, it's a child, soul child, soul in a childish level that can mature and evolve. I've encountered many really teachers who are so enlightened in mind
Mm.
and the spaciousness and knowing the different aspects of enlightenment and different essential domains, but their soul is hiding in their solar plexus, in their Mobius, in the deepest center, as a child, 10 years old child. I remember even Krishnamurti, his soul was hiding in his perineum. He was, when they brought him to the West, they thought that he was going to be
The
the
guy.
yeah. And he was just very beautiful soul. He wasn't the Messiah. So his soul hid in his perineum. You know? And he had for 30 years, headache comes and headache goes. Because that ego and the soul go hide in the perineum, pulls on the spinal cord, and he get a headache.
Oh.
It is, the headache was generated in the perineum, not in the headache. It really locks up the perineum, and the spinal cord gets contracted, and it causes restriction in the sac around the brain and causes headaches. You know? He only saw that after he left the body. He received guidance in the bardo, and his soul child that was so afraid, and his soul in this childish state, you know, showed up after he died, and he faced it in bardo. Then he had to deal with it, to take it to enlightenment, to let go of the images having to be the Messiah or no Messiah, but to enjoy, you know, the freedom to be in our true nature and our being. Then you can become whatever you want to become. And the way to learn about whatever you want to learn, become it. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, not reading about it. Reading about it helps, you know, developing understanding helps, but not sufficient. It doesn't take you there. And many of the enlightened ones I've seen, they try to deliver the knowledge in order to illuminate the soul. The knowledge will illuminate the mind, but not the soul. The soul needs to be taken to that domain, you know, to be guided to that domain. And a third way, that's usually around 2, 3, 4 in the heart, affects them that way a lot, while the way of knowledge affects the 5, 6, 7 on the Enneagram. And the 1, 8, 9 who are body, the way of the body lane is by embodiment. You know, is if I hear about this state, I need to feel it. I need to know how it feels in my body. What is the sensation of it? What is the texture of it? You know, I might reach it in my understanding of it in mind. I might reach it in my point of light, but I might not be able to embody it. You know? The embodiment means I have to remove some armoring, to work on the body's structures, to release whatever restrictions in it, and to allow the flow or the substance to land in the body. Then I know love is a substance. You know, I might know it on a feeling level, but my body does not know it till I remove the barriers, and this substance, let's say golden essence or pink essence, flows in my body. Then my body knows it. The 1, 8, 9 in the Enneagram, regardless of how much they could understand it or have their point, get a flavor of it, they always feel deficient in not knowing it till the body knows it. Once they get the quality in the body, say, oh, why didn't you say so? You know, it's just sweet and full or dense or whatever qualities. So the maturation in the spiritual domain on the body level has to do by the qualities running in the body. If not, the knowing is not complete. The learning is not complete. The maturation is not complete. I encountered some teachers that came to me to work in themselves because they had about doing mixture of psychology and spirituality and body work, you know. And I remember one of them was a very beautiful man, a leader in the community, in the meditation, and beautiful man. And he knew about me and came, and he said, you know, the problem is that I can meditate and I can go into space and lightness, and my heart is really open, but my sexuality is gone. And my wife has had it with me, you know, she said, I have to go do something about it, you know. So I worked with him. I could see that his tendency, because he was more of, I think, six-ish, five-ish, six-ish in the Enneagram, he will go to opening the mind and the spaciousness and leaving the body behind. And whatever issues that comes from opening the head, fear of father or grandiosity, those issues sank under the belt. They got him by the perineum. 25 years, 30 years of enlightenment in the reaching enlightenment in the head and the heart, and the issues went under the belt and crystallized sense of fear and crystallization and his ego and soul child hiding there. So I used to have him just hit and kick the bed. I don't want to hear about any enlightened issues. I don't want to hear about anything, you know. And, you know, he did some good work. He really landed it and all of those things. The last time I saw him, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. This happened about 40 years ago. You know, I saw him, and I look at him. There is this body, this man who was full of embodiment and rich and all of those things, coming to say, "Thank you, Faisal. Now my wife is happy." You know, his body awakened. So the body learns by embodiment, not by knowledge. I could know all about enlightenment, but unless enlightenment runs in my cellular, in my toes, in my DNA, I would not know it. I know it on one level, you know. So it's very important to know that mind learns this way, spirit learns this way, body learns this way, you know, by different kind of actualization.
What are the sorts of body work? What do you recommend?
I mean, I personally, I love Reichen bioenergetics, you know, and mellow bioenergetics, not the old style bioenergetic. I was into old style bioenergetics, Reichen therapy, but gentler, deeper breathing, relaxation, releasing, you know, different release, yoga, breathing, any animation that involves the body is really important. Sitting and just meditating is not enough. Okay. You know? Inquiry and processing is not enough. You know, when I get into this teaching, I was already in bioenergetic Reichen therapy. I was having session every week. You know, and I remember my therapist, the same that Almas and me, we used to, if I tell him about any discovery of essential state, he gets mad at me. You know. He said, they'll put you in a mental hospital. What are you talking about, gold and diamond? You know, I don't want to hear about that. Breathe. And I felt so grateful. He was like about 80 years old, and I just breathe and yell and scream and release. And my body absorbed his biological wisdom. He didn't know about essential wisdom. He didn't know about enlightenment, all of those things, you know. In fact, he was so trapped in his perineum with the fear of dying. And I could feel it, you know. I could tell him, you know, you're afraid of dying. He said, yeah, when you die, you're 3 days in the grave and all. I said, no, there's not like this. You leave, you know. And he said, I don't want to be buried till after 3 days. Then my soul leaves slowly, slowly. There is no soul. There is just biological energy releasing. And I told him, you just caught in your perineum. He said, don't tell me anything, breathe. He said, okay. Yeah. But his body also, with all that blockage in the perineum, he knew how to regulate itself. Yeah. Build up of charge and discharge. Autonomic regulation was flowing in his body beautifully. Really was so rich. So I said, I don't tell him anything, you know. Neither Almas nor me will share anything with him. We share with each other, you know, that was in 78, 79, 80, you know. But his body had the ability to regulate itself, build up a charge and discharge, which is how babies are, how children are. They build up a charge and discharge. And if they cannot, then they cry and they, you know, we release them, you know, tap them. So we are so fortunate in modern time, because not only we have new psychology that really very, very beautiful, pioneering in so many fields, but also new approaches. to body approaches, holographic breath, bioenergetics, so many approaches that, craniosacrum, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Rolfing, Heller works,
yeah,
Franken, so
trauma,
yeah.
all of those now they use all of that. The body became so knowledgeable to the point that, you have a grief, there you work on this area. You have fear, you work on that area. The map became even so precise that you can really release those emotions and these contents. So we are really in a very enlightened time, and it's upgrading more and more in terms of knowledges. Before body knowledges, people didn't know much, Sufis have some whirling, Buddhists have, I don't know, little this or that, but now we have some incredible technology that way. So we apply any of those means, but have to be all of that. Then the fourth one has to do with the center above the head, which has to do with transcendence. One way of learning is that we leave all learning, and then learning lands by itself. You just let go and reach surrender, and then from this center comes the radiance and the deep, and it will undo all the programming. The absolute itself will go into the mind and clear the confusion of the mind and produce crystals on top of the head, diamond in the forehead. It comes to the throat, release the chandelier, the stupa, come to the heart, release the gold, come to the belly, release the platinum, citadel, release all the absolute does it. But you have to allow the absolute descend, otherwise you become an absolutist. And the absolutists are a nightmare, because their belief about the absolute is their, I don't know, schizophrenic space. While the absolute is really can come in the body and upgrade all those centers to reach their optimum capacities, of learning, of feeling, of becoming, of embodying. It erases the old programming and opens the system for its pure potential that it is created that way. That's why in my work, it's not about bringing any new knowledges. My work, the school that I have, the academy I have, I'm calling it N.O.O.R Foundation, N.O.O.R. This abbreviation for Natural Order of Reality. We are designed and we are built in the most magnificence of all vehicles of existence, grand design of chakras and meridians and lataif and essential vehicles and capacity. We don't know how glorious we are, So the work is not to upgrade it, make me more upgrade. Let me become it, and then it becomes upgradable. It upgrades itself, and the universe is evolving, So I evolve, but how can I restore me to my natural order? My mind becomes diamond and crystals. My heart becomes spirited and full of love, and my belly becomes embodiment and richnesses. I am built that way. It's like a woman doesn't need to know about pregnancy. The womb already knows. She needs to level with the womb, and the womb has all the wisdom. You don't need a book to say at 2 months you tell the baby be this and the womb be that. It happens. How to tune into it, and the richness from it.
Yes, but Faisal, what you're talking about tuning into is what, 0.001% of the population?
Yes. I pray that the crisis we are in, that we are going on through now, from COVID, humanity now reached the limit, reached their end, and they are stepping out. That it is time for those coming 6-8 years, going to be very tough in humanity, very difficult. That it's time for humanity to say, we had enough of what we are having. The educational system is a mess, the economical system is a mess, the government is a mess, and maybe this is the beginning of awakening to our humanness, really. And I pray that we are beings of light, that we have now no clue that we are beings of light. We are humanity now, our egos walking around most of the time.
Gross anatomy.
Personalities, may those points of light land. May this be the age of the points of light landing. Then we will know what we are. And it's happening, it's really amazing now. Women showing up and things that were hidden are coming out, you know. It gives hope. I listen to the new generation. It's incredible what they are doing. Chinese guy talking to American guys, talking to African guys, talking to South American guys, and like this. Zoom and YouTube and all of those things. And they begin to know that they are human. They're sharing about their own lostness, their own hopes, you know. And who would thought that, you know, 15 years old or 16 years old, you know, a girl that is showing up and teaching those leaders. Greta. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you saying? You know, she is a brave soul to me.
She is radical.
Yeah, high being, and many high beings are landing, you know. And I think we are having a global awakening. We're moving from individuality to community. It's the time from individual soul making its own way, John Wayne moving alone, the end of the movie, in the sunset, leaving behind the bad guys and everything, to Sangha, to Holy City, in which humanity will begin to realize that, what are we doing? You know, we're destroying each other, we're destroying our planet, we're leaving nothing for our children and grandchildren. You know? So I believe that they'll be speeding up in the process. You know, this is 1 out of a million what we are talking about, but I feel that there'll be like escalation. You know? And they will integrate it without having to know all the technology I'm talking about. You know, point of light and diamond body and absolute, it'll be normal.
You're saying that their sort of their soul station comes in with it?
Each soul has its own station, and it will manifest without having to have all this consciousness. I think the consciousness will come, you know, maybe 50 years, this knowledge will be so much treasure that many will catch up to it and be taught in schools, you know, to say, oh yes, there were pioneers who, you know, mentioned it, preserved it for us, you know. But they come with it. Every soul has its own uniqueness.
Well, let's hope it happens in less than 50 years from now. Because honestly, Faisal, when you talk about, you know, the 3 centers and, you know, being able to be a teacher, for instance, where you essentially, you know, intake a library of books, a compendium of you know, the history of spirituality, or your you know, you really do Feldenkrais and Heller work and Rolfing and every kind of body work, and, you know, yoga, and integrate it on an embodiment level, and you're, you know, you do the heart work where you're doing guru yoga, or, you know, praying, or all of those things, and still we're not to the head center, and you know, really manifesting that. And it's really overwhelming to think of, you know, especially people who have been teachers, lifelong teachers, but are not integrated, or, you know, have some area of deficiency, when even in their best of attempts and efforts and devotion, it's a little overwhelming.
It is stunning. It is stunning how narcissistic, the most narcissistic field I know is the spiritual field. Full of narcissistic, you know, me and my mother and my father, my issues, and I and me, and there's so much going on. On one hand, it's legitimate, we need to awaken to see. But on the other hand, messes beyond imagination. Systems that are supposed to lead humanity to liberation have become impairment. Even the Dalai Lama said, I think, as I mentioned before, wanted to throw away all the old systems and start fresh, bring the Tibetan and a fresh approach, fresh and new, you know. But they wouldn't allow it because there are treasures. You don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater, all of those things. But yes, the field is full, you know, spiritual field, full of people who awakened, but not fully, deeply, not recognized. And you've seen it and it's all around, but it's part of the awakening. It's part of the process. It's like we are going through a birth canal now, you know. It's a passage. I hope within the coming 6 to 8 years, will really come out in a way that's really refreshing, you know. But there will be high price. There'll be really very high price. Many nations might be wiped out. Many people might, you know. The earth will go through a lot, you know. It will survive. We will survive, but not all. You know, really, not all. So it's happening, and it is unavoidable. It has to happen. We have to awaken, you know. And so it's escalating, and I believe many of the new generations are very, very evolved souls coming to help with the transition, you know. And I say to them, like what the Lama says, you know, I'm sorry we left you a mess. This we really did that for you. I say it to my children, I say it to the new generations. We really did. We didn't know 2 world wars, God, you know, so much happening, you know. We really did a mess, but it's part of this evolution. Hopefully it'll happen. And there will be also not just what we think, there'll be escalation in the frequencies. The frequencies of the universe will be changed. The frequencies of the earth will be changed. So it is not just the human psyche evolving, but there'll be also interference. The whole universe is programmed in a particular way, and the programming will activate. That I believe in. It's not what we think it is, you know. So, but that's another story.
That's a whole other story, right? Okay. Well, thank you. May it be so. May the evolution happen in the most optimized way.
Yes, really, may it be. And yeah, we'll go to this other second one.